Hello everyone! In today's unboxing video I will be unboxing this Dremel MotoSaw. I decided to recently invest in this because the scroll saw that I was using before was a vintage and it had a lot of vibration and it was hard to move around and it just got a little bit tiresome to work with. And so I wanted to invest in something that was simpler, took up less space, and had a quieter operation. And I read up on this Dremel and it seems to make all the qualifiers. Plus I really like the fact that I can break it down and just clamp it into whatever workspace I'm going to be using, and then at the end of it I can put it back into its case. In this video you'll see me make some simple woodcuts to test it out, and then I'm going to do a demo of me cutting out a clipboard that is going to be themed. So let's start this unboxing. Alright, first thing we want to do here is cut this little tie rod off. Alright, first thing here is the instructions. As usual with my unboxings, I strongly recommend that if you decide to purchase this, you will thoroughly read over the manufacturer's instructions. It's just always wise to fully understand your tools before you use them, because safety is the #1 priority. Alright, so let's lay out these parts. Alright, here is the work table. The vacuum port adapter. I'm not sure this will fit my shop vac, and a lot of you out there may run into the same issue. What I'll probably end up having to do is get one of those pipe couplers that's adjustable. I've done that with several of my tools. They're really easy to work with. You just attach them, you get like around the same size that the port you need is, and then you're able to tighten it with a screwdriver. So I'll probably end up having to pick up something for this one. I have a bag full of blades. Looks like they give a pretty good amount in variety, which I like. There goes the clamp that goes into the workbench. And we have the tool itself. The cool, interesting thing about this is that it operates like a scroll saw when you attach it to the table, but also it can operate independently as like a coping saw. Right now, I really can't say I have much use for it with the type of projects that I do, but I really think it'll be handy to have something that can operate like this. So I probably will in the future have some use for a coping saw. So let's get this thing put together and start some demos. So here is the table parts and the dust port laid out. First thing I'm going to show is how I made an adapter for the vacuum port. I had this part lying around, not even sure originally where it came from, but it fits right into the manufacturer's assembly here, and then I'm using this pipe coupling to attach over this like so. Make sure I get it nice and snug, and then I'm going to tighten it. And I've done this with other tools that have dust ports to fit better onto my shop vac. And once you get this nice and snug, it does create a very good seal, and I never have dust coming out of it. So now this is nice and snug. Once I attach this to the table, I can affix this on underneath, which is located right here, and you can put it in multiple directions. So in my case, I'm gonna have it facing this way, but I could also turn it to face the other direction. Next, I'm going to attach this table base to my workbench using the clamps that it came with. And these clamps seem to be pretty simple. It just goes through some slots right here. So you put this through, and then this part goes with the table, and then you can just screw it tight. So let's do that. Alright, so I want to shoot a view of me putting in the second clamp from the underneath of the table view, and so I'll show you how simple it is. So you see the slot right here, you just put this part through like so, and then you tighten it. Get it snug, and then from here you just tighten it up. It appears this base is it's really tight, so I'm happy with the way that came out. Next, I'm going to attach the vacuum port and the adapter I made. This goes on to right here. Give that a little nice snug press. And then I will attach my shop vac, which is right here, and tighten it with a screw there. Alright, now that the table base is attached to my workbench and I have the shop vac set up, I'm going to drop in the main tool, which seems to be pretty straightforward. What you do is drop the cord through the slot here, and then put the base right in, or the tool rather. Apparently there's a little locking tab right here on the side, so you just push that in until it locks into place. There we go. Took a little bit for me to figure it out, but you drop it in, and then at an angle you push it forward this way until this little locking tab clicks into place. And I guess to remove it, you just push down this little tab, and it's supposed to come back out. There you go. You pull it back, and it will free up. Let's see if it goes down just as simply. So here we go. Now that's way simpler. Alright, I think I am ready to start cutting some wood. Next up, let's put this a blade in. I'm probably going to pick the general use one to cut just about anything, not anything specific. So off camera, I figured out how to install the blade here. I found this to be the trickiest part, because you can't really see up here where you're putting the blade into, but what you want to do is release the tensioner here, and the blade, you can see here, it'll come out. What you want to do is drop it into the bottom slot until you see it reach a little riser that's inside of the table, or I mean inside of the tool rather, and it'll be a little nub that it'll lock into place or slide into. And then what you want to do is twist the blade a little bit to get the little nubs through, and push it back towards the tool as much as possible. And you see here, now you have it almost like lined up flush, and then this locker mechanism here will grab it and make it nice and snug, and it'll lock back into place. And then by sound, like with any other scroll saw, you can tell that the blade is locked into place. For me, this was probably the trickiest part of this assembly. I kind of wish it was better described in the printed out instructions, but other than that, it seems to be pretty simple. So what I'm going to cut here is a thin piece of plywood that I'm going to try to use for a insert for my table saw for a dado stack. I've already attached a test run piece of plywood here to keep my cut as straight as possible, so it's acting as a fence. So we'll see how this cuts. Yeah, I cut it pretty well. Later on I'll test this to see how well it works on my table saw, but for this demo it did pretty well. I still need work on figuring out how to do nicer curves on these types of saws, but I'm going to round this over more on the with the belt sander. Now I think I'm ready to try out cutting a clipboard. Alright, so the next thing I'm going to cut on this Dremel is this clipboard. I drew out a quick pattern on it that I'll cut out, and then these parts that don't have any shading to them I'm going to fill with resin. That'll be another video, but I just want to test out the cutting on this and see how well it cuts through the curves. I probably won't get it exactly precise because I don't have too much practice doing scroll saw work, but I think it'll still be a good test and I can use it for another project. Let's get started. So this is the pattern that I cut out. It's not exactly precise, as I kind of figured it would be. I definitely could use a lot more practice working scroll saw. But overall, it really cut through this clipboard material very easily. And also it cuts through the thinner woods pretty easily. So for this type of project, I do see it working if it's a really thin material, or something like this clipboard material, which is some sort of, I believe, like composite board or something. So what are my final thoughts on the Dremel MotoSaw? For the most part, I found it favorable, but a little bit lacking for what I was hoping that. So what are my final thoughts on the Dremel MotoSaw? Well, overall, I find it to be pretty good, but it was a little bit lacking for the needs that I have, because I need to cut not only thin materials, I also want to cut some thicker materials. At least that's what I was hoping it could do. Like if I was working with cutting through maybe a thicker resin or things like that, this tool does not have the strength to do it. So chances are, for what I need, I'll probably still end up having to get a stronger scroll saw, a more heavy duty model, you know, something from one of the major brands probably, which is fine. It's just something I hope I didn't have to do already. But with this, it's great because it'll work on small little projects. It'll cut thin pieces of material, and you can make all sorts of different patterns. It works in that regard like a regular scroll saw. But if you're looking for something that cuts through more harder materials, I don't think this is probably the best bet. I even tried to cut through some wooden pen blanks, which were thicker, and it did not have the strength to cut through the pen blanks. Another great feature about this tool is how it can be broken down pretty easily, as I showed before. You know, it comes apart, and you can put it into a nice hard case and store it. You won't have to worry about bumping into it, unless of course you want to have a dedicated space for it, which is completely fine. But for me, I like having my tools, if I'm not going to use them for a while, in nice cases out of the way. So with that, I really enjoy about this. And its design is pretty good. I could probably use more depth for the back end piece here for larger projects, but for clipboards, it worked just fine. I didn't get to try out all the different types of blades that it came with, so you could probably have some fun with that. But with both demonstrations that I did on it, I enjoyed it. It worked well for those materials, and I probably will still hold on to it and use it for other smaller projects, while later down the line I'll probably invest in a larger, more heavy-duty scroll saw. And I'll make sure to make a video for everyone. Until next time, I'm Jim Vargas, the Woodworking Illustrator. Cheers.